Well, thank you all for joining us. My name is Erin Rash, and I'm the director of the Office of International Safety and Security, and I am joined by my fantastic colleague, Lexi Baker, who's with the Education Abroad Office. And today we just wanted to do an overview about study abroad opportunities at Kennesaw State University. So I'll just do a quick little intro and then I'll hand it over to Lexi, who will get to the bulk of what I'm sure you're very interested in hearing about. And then I'll wrap it up with a little bit about what we're doing to keep your students safe while they are studying abroad on a KSU, a study abroad experience. So if you just want to progress the slide a little bit. Okay, so I love this quote by Nelson Mandela. I use quotes by him frequently in a lot of my training sessions. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And I really, truly believe, and probably most of us in global education at Kennesaw State University, believe in the transformative power of education. Education, especially experiential education, leads to empathy, which leads to change. So we believe that by getting out there, engaging the world, your students are going to be able to take their life in new directions. I am a product of study abroad myself. It opened many new doors for me that I was not expecting. And now I work in the field of international education as a result of a single faculty-led study abroad program that I went on during my undergraduate years. And it was just pivotal in and very formative in my experience. So we can attest to the power of study abroad. And again, we know that travel looks a lot different these days. It is sometimes more challenging. There's more logistics involved, but without a doubt, getting out there, engaging, that is how we have those opportunities to flex our creativity, flex our adaptability, to really problem solve, think on the spot, and also to learn that appreciation, to learn that respect and understanding and empathy by seeing how other people live, how other people work, how they navigate environments that may be similar or different to our own. So at KSU, we like to say that the world is our classroom. I think that's, yep, next slide there. So, while you're studying here at Kennesaw State University, a lot of learning happens within, the traditional four walls on campus, but there's a lot more to explore out there in the world. So we hope that your students are able to take advantage of the opportunities both on campus and abroad while they're here at Kennesaw State University. And having said that, I will pass the baton to Lexi to tell us more about those opportunities.
Hello, everyone. I am also a product of study abroad. So I have very similar experience to Erin, how it really changed my perspective on the world, on my education, and now I also work in global education. So it definitely changed my career path and my goals for future. So what we're going to be covering in today's presentation is why your student should be studying abroad at KSU, financing your study abroad, and then keeping your owls safe while abroad. So the steps that we take in order to make sure students are as safe as they can be. And then we'll open up to Q&A at the end. So if there's anything that you would like to know that we did not cover, we can go ahead and answer any questions that you have. All right, so getting into the education abroad information, so potential benefits of study abroad or education abroad. There are many benefits that your student will have after studying abroad and traveling. It will definitely help them grow personally, professionally, and academically. They will grow, opening up their eyes to a new perspective. It will help them enhance a global awareness, global perspective. It will enhance academic learning, develop leadership skills with them because they'll be working in more teams and having to take on a little bit of responsibility because there's so much to go into study abroad with added independence while there are still being supported through our process and our offices. It will help them advance their career. It is shown that a lot of students with study abroad are more able to find a job quicker after graduation, and it definitely sticks out to recruiters and people at different companies because the world is becoming much more global and more employers are looking for global attributes in resumes and in their candidates for the jobs. It will help them experience personal growth. I definitely went through this. It helps me with problem solving. We see students definitely grow themselves, become more mature after education abroad experiences. And if they want to, they can also learn another language potentially. It is not required that students learn another language to study abroad, but it can definitely be one of their goals, especially if they're doing an education abroad program that has a foreign language course included. So getting into the program offerings that we have for different students, we have two main types of programs. We have short-term programs, which are faculty-led is what we like to call them. Most of these are during the summer, and like how I said before, they are shorter. So anywhere usually from 2 to 5 weeks long. Because they're faculty-led, the KSU faculty actually create these programs specifically for KSU students. So they're created with the student in mind, especially how they learn at KSU and their degree programs. The other area of program offerings we have are long-term programs. So that's kind of what it sounds like. They're for a longer time, either a semester, maybe a whole summer long, or even a year if that is what your student desires. So usually we see these as exchanges. So in an exchange, it'll be a bilateral exchange with another student at a different institution in a different country. So your student will be traveling to that country, go to that and attend that university, just like they would be attending KSU. It would just be a different one, across the water. And then another student will be coming here. Another type of long-term program could be an internship, maybe a research-based program that they're doing more independently. Could even be a directed study or project that they create on themselves in tandem with a faculty member. Going to scholarships, we have a number of different scholarships available for students. Each year we try to enhance and increase our scholarships offerings that our office, Global Education, specifically offers students. So this year we had over 10 scholarships available coming from our office. We do, again, like to increase these when possible. We're always looking for funding to send students and discounting program rates if possible. We do also highlight a lot of external scholarships that are available that we recommend for students to apply to. And there are many, many other scholarships out there as well that students are able to research on their own and find other scholarships that have maybe some better eligibility for them or maybe dependent on their program itself. We do have resources on our website, which we'll get into in a second, that do show where you can search for scholarships and the student can search for scholarships in certain databases to help them find program scholarships. For deadlines, we do have deadlines coming up very quickly for faculty-led summer programs. Our first deadlines for earlier in the summer are going to be February 1st and February 15th. And then late summer programs are going to be March 1st and March 15th. For exchanges and independent programs, those dates and deadlines vary a lot because of the different nature of those programs, and each institution that we send students to has their own deadlines, which we have to flex our deadlines for. So those deadlines will start for summer and fall term. We'll start opening, if they have not been opened already, very, very, very soon, and closing February, March, and April. I know that varies a lot. So if your student is interested in a long-term program or an exchange, it is recommended that they move and open applications very quickly, because we are seeing an increased interest in exchanges as well. So those can have a little bit more limited number of spots available. So to get on those programs a little bit quicker. So this is the homepage of our website. I did go ahead and drop down the students tab so you can see all the different tabs that we have open for students, all the pages we offer. There are different pages depending on the area your student is in, whether they are thinking about going abroad, are currently scheduled on a program, or returning back. And there's more on here as well in terms of scholarships. So that link will definitely lead you to a lot of scholarship resources, as well as ones that we like to offer and highlight. Some FAQs, additional resources, and also student testimonials. So you can always read about past students that have gone abroad and their experiences and how it has changed their perspective on the world and enhanced their learning. If your student is still thinking about joining an education abroad program or hasn't found one that they quite have picked out yet or committed to, they can use our program finder tool, which is right there and find a program on our front page, front and center. And so they can use this tool to narrow down their search and advanced search and find the program that is right for them. If they're still struggling to find a program or having difficulties with finding one that would be good for them, then they can always reach out to my office at educationabroad@kennesaw.edu or go to our contact page on this website, and they can book an appointment with one of our program coordinators. And we can help the student find the program that best fits their need, or we can go and talk about more in depth about any programs that they're interested in if they're between a couple of different ones or just want to learn some more information.
Great, thank you so much. Again, I'm Erin Rash with the Office of International Safety and Security, and we work very closely with our Education Abroad office. Our office is a two-person unit. We are actually fairly unique within the University System of Georgia. Our office started in 2015, and up until this past month, we were the only one within the 26 institutions within the state, public institutions. I am happy to report that there is now another similar peer at the University of Georgia. So they've realized that this is a very valuable position. The world is changing, and so they've mirrored what we are doing here at Kennesaw State University. So we're very happy to see that growth and to share that we were kind of a little bit of a trendsetter in the field. So how we work and with the Education Abroad office and support your students is we are constantly monitoring what's going on first and foremost. We are working closely with our peers at other institutions. We are scouring the Department of State information, looking at the CDC information and what they're putting out there about what's going on in country and locations where we have travelers. We also are members of different groups. The OSAC, Overseas Security Advisory Council. It is the public-private partnership between the Department of State and various entities such as Fortune 500 companies or institutions of higher education. So I'm constantly working with those body of professionals to see what sort of intel they have on the ground that could potentially be useful for us and for our travelers. Also, I'm a member of something called Pulse, which is a group of similar academics who are looking at what's going on and could potentially be impacting students or faculties who are traveling abroad. And so we're constantly looking at what's going on, assessing it, trying to figure out how that could impact our travelers and making sure that we are keeping all of our stakeholders informed. We're constantly talking with our faculty, our Education Abroad program coordinators on the planning side of things, figuring out what we should be doing, shouldn't be doing, how we can make the experience most impactful for our students in the best manner possible, with the least amount of hiccups. And then, of course, we're here for advising. If students have any questions or concerns that they themselves have about traveling, as part of a program or independently, health concerns that they have, safety concerns, we are here to be a resource to talk them through those things. And then should anything go wrong while students are overseas, we do have a 24/7 number that we man to give them that support so that they are not alone. I encourage them to call me. I would much rather them call me at 3 a.m. if they have something that they're concerned about than try and, sit on it until, later. And because of that, we also are highly invested in a couple of key resources that we have to support our students while they are in country. Lexi, if you want to forward the slide. Okay, so the first of these is CISI, and CISI is Cultural Insurance Services International, and that is our medical insurance for our student travelers. And it is built with the traveler in mind, truly, with the student especially. And it has a $0 deductible, which wish my health insurance had a $0 deductible. So students know that, if they do have to, seek medical treatment, usually it is less costly in other countries, but that they can get that covered, usually as a form of reimbursement, but sometimes we can work, if they're proactive, we can work on the front end and get that covered as well. But it does cover medical concerns that may arise, mental health concerns that may arise as well. I know that's definitely something that we've seen more need for just in the past few years, and especially after the pandemic, is, people need that additional support. And, it is something that we are happy to provide them with. And we also, through our KSU, our own Wellness at KSU initiative, we have access to telecounseling for our students who are abroad. They have apps they can use if they want to just talk to someone real quickly. So there are lots of resources at their disposal. It does also cover medical repatriation. So in the event that something happens and we want to get them, out of wherever they are to a place with perhaps a higher standard of care, or get them back home, we can do that. And PEND coverage, which is political instability and natural disaster evacuation. So in the event that we have things like Peru, last month, we saw that there were lots of travelers who were traveling to Machu Picchu. And suddenly, because of some protests, the transportation hubs started closing for a couple of days. So we are positioned to help students who are in such a situation, get them relocated either temporarily, get them to another city, get them back home, whatever is needed. So they are covered in that capacity. Now, one thing I do want to point out, it has come up in sessions like this before, is that the insurance, we do enroll students in this insurance. It is, if they're in a faculty-led program, it is built into their cost of their program. If they are on a more independent experience, if it's a longer term experience, we give them directions so that they can enroll for their full dates that they're going to be traveling. We want to make sure that your student is traveled for the full dates that they are abroad. So if they're doing a faculty-led program and then they're doing extra travel afterwards for fun, or maybe before the program starts, please encourage them. We will encourage them as well and give them instructions on how to extend that insurance coverage so that it covers their full dates while they are abroad. And the other resource that we want to highlight today is On Call International. And On Call International is our security assistance provider. So that is how we are getting updates about what's going on in various locations where we have travelers. There are real-time security alerts that can go to both their email, as well as they can download an app and receive those alerts on an app as well. It also, on the app, has a check-in feature. If they're in trouble and they want to hit SOS and it'll connect it to us, they can do that as well. So that usually will give our travelers information about maybe some protests that are happening nearby, or transit strikes, especially in our summer programs in Italy and France. They get a lot of notifications about, this weekend there may be a transit strike. So, be prepared to adjust, your itinerary a little bit. So we want to make sure that our students are fully aware of what's going on. And, anytime that we see anything of concern, we're also following up with our students to make sure, hey, did you see this? FYI, just, maybe while you're out and about, avoid this area, or, be careful if you're going to be using the buses this week, maybe use the trains instead. So we're trying to be very proactive, but also this allows students to, get that information, as soon as it's pushed out. And then we also have a lot of information made available on our website. And this is travel information that covers health tips, safety tips, security tips for anyone traveling abroad. So I encourage you, if you are thinking about, planning a trip for your, personal, your family trip to, Mexico, anything, we would encourage you to just take a look at some of these resources, especially if you're going any place that is a slightly off the beaten path or more unconventional location. There are some good tips in there, but even considerations like traveling with allergies, traveling with medications, best practices and resources that we hope can be useful to your students as well as to you. So please feel free to check out our website at dga.kennesaw.edu/safety and security for more information. And with that, I guess we will open it up for any questions that you have for us. And for everyone who's attended, thank you so much. We hope that you got some good information and that you are eager to help your student travel abroad. And please have them come see us and talk to us and learn more.
I will go ahead and stop sharing so that I can also see any comments and questions that come in. If we need to reshare for any reason, I will.
In the chat box. Okay, looks like there's something in the chat box now. A lot of information on programs and dates mentioned for the last slide. Can you send that out after this meeting? We definitely are recording this session, so it will be made available on the parent and family portal. They will have that link available in the next couple of days. If you have specific questions about a program and when its application deadlines are, Lexi, I believe that there are some communications that have been going out to all of the students who have started a application, but I don't know if you have any additional tricks or tips on that.
All of our dates and deadlines are on our website. And like Erin said, we are going to be sharing this recording. So if you do are not able to see it on the family portal, or you not on the family portal yet and need access to this, you can always email educationabroad@kennesaw.edu, and I can put that in the chat. And I'd be happy to send you the link or answer any maybe more in-depth questions about a specific program that you or your student may have. It may not always be me responding. It may be another program coordinator that's more aware of the program at hand because they deal a little bit more with the details. Each of us have different programs that we specialize in to offer a little bit more array of details specifically for those courses.
Looks like the questions are really coming in now. We have, what do you recommend for interested students who don't see any study abroad opportunities related to their major?
Okay, so we do have the ability on our search feature to do an advanced search, so they can search by department or college. So if they search by college, they may be able to see related courses that still could qualify as degree applicable courses. If they truly do not see any courses that they can take for that would go toward their degree, then they're always welcome to find other opportunities that KSU does not offer. So if they are interested in a program at a different institution, maybe a different institution in the USG like UGA, Georgia Tech, Georgia College, they are welcome to look at those. We also have partnerships with other program providers. To name a couple, we have one called ISEP, ISA, and CIS Abroad. So these are partners that we work with to help students have more variety of programs offered. But if they are on some of these different programs that are not by KSU, sometimes the credit will come back as transfer credit. So it is just something to be aware of. We do have a process to go ahead and pre-approve their courses that they want to take and see how they could come back to KSU. But just a note that it will be a transfer credit for most of those. And we call this usually as a group of outgoing transients is what they're called usually.
And I just responded to Rosa, kind of reiterating some of what you said, those outgoing programs for places like Eastern European countries. Is there a recommended time that students should study abroad, such as sophomore or junior?
So students can study abroad at any point in their degree. We don't limit them in our eligibility or requirements. Usually students will study abroad, I would say more often in the summer after their sophomore year. Usually after a year or two in college, they usually know more of what they want to do and what their degree and career goals are. So this can also lead to maybe more higher up degree courses that they could take abroad. Now, if they are a freshman, maybe a summer of the freshman year, they could go abroad and take more general electives, or if they got ahead and they're already ahead in their degree, then they can even take degree applicable courses higher up in their degree, specifically for their major. So it really is dependent on them. The only thing is we do not allow alumni to participate. So if they are graduate, they have already graduated, then we cannot add them to a program because there is no way for them to be added.
Okay, where can we get more information on the insurance? That is also on the website. If you go to the safety and security website that I referenced, I can type that in momentarily for you. There is information on the insurance as well as a schedule of benefits. And then students, of course, will receive information in their application that gives them step-by-step how to enroll in that if they're not already enrolled by the Education Abroad office, as well as the website. We use CISI, so if you wanted to just see the consumer, portal, you can go to mycisi.com. Again, we have a special policy with them that's for our students, so it is a slightly better rate and potentially some higher levels of coverage. Okay.
I did add the link for scholarship and financial aid resources. Let's see, reading through some of these.
For the shorter trips, such as 5 weeks, do you know if these students will need to apply for an educational visa, or is this only needed for the longer programs? If you cannot answer this, could you direct us to who could? So that is going to be location specific and also based on citizenship. So for the most part, no, you probably won't need it for many of our programs. But again, it's going to vary based on where you're going and, the citizenship. So our program coordinators can work with you a little bit, but we also do refer to the embassy of your destination for specific information based on your situation or our student situation.
Just coming off mute to comment, because I'm the one that put that question in there. There's been some reference, of course, to the embassy, but trying to make heads or tails of that and to figure it out is difficult because they don't specify what kind of time frames or anything that these would be required. That's why I was wondering if any of your staff could help answer those specific questions. The trip my daughter is going on is something that you guys repeat frequently. So do we just reach out, like you said, to the individual for that particular trip and just ask them?
Absolutely, yes. And if it's a faculty-led program, oftentimes the coordinators do work with the students to complete that visa application process if it's something that all students will need. So definitely feel free to reach out to the program coordinator for that program and they can give you more information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, once a student has submitted an application, when are decisions made? So usually we try and check applications weekly, if not weekly, then every other week. Sometimes every couple days if we have the availability to check. Sometimes applications will come in a lot at one time, so we have to kind of field them first come, first serve when reviewing applications. So when we have a little bit more downtime of the year, it usually is a little bit quicker. If we're getting a lot at once and we have a higher number of applicants, which we do right now, it may take slightly longer, but usually a week or two is when decisions will be made as student per student. We don't wait until after the application deadline. We do it as they come in.
Are students able to use HOPE to help cover the cost?
All right, so normally if a student is able to get financial aid for a course during their regular semester, fall or spring term, they are able to get it on a summer program. It's really dependent usually on the degree applicability of the courses. Students are always recommended to meet with their financial aid advisor. They do have a specific one designated for them, and their financial aid advisor could give them a lot of specifics on what they can get for their courses, for their education abroad, and also how much they are able to get and what their aid package looks like. So we always recommend students reach out to their financial aid advisor to get the most accurate information for financial aid, including HOPE. Do students need to get a monthly train pass? This is pretty program specific. Programs that are with faculty-led programs, they have transportation covered in their program fee. So this usually is, when they're going to be traveling together on any intended activities. If your student is doing, has the opportunity to do any independent travel during during their program dates, maybe a long weekend somewhere, then that mode of transportation is up to them. We can always offer, best transportation solutions for them. Some countries it may be looking at the train schedule, maybe a bus schedule, just kind of depends location wise. But if they are using the train a lot for a specific program, usually those passes are built into any program cost, or the transportation is privately included in that cost already.
And looks like we have a couple of housing questions. So will KSU hold the students' KSU dorm room when they study abroad? That again kind of also depends on the duration of the program when you're studying abroad. Pass that off to Lexi a little bit. She's probably more familiar with the ins and outs of best practices with that.
I would definitely reach out to housing to get more specifics, depending on also like the contract that you originally signed for that dorm may also come into play. So this is probably going to be mostly case by case basis. I don't know all of the details with housing at KSU while they're abroad.
And similarly, how a roommate selected is going to vary based on if it's a faculty-led program. Usually it's either, the group will get together for pre-departure orientations. People may pair up and find friends and decide they want to room together. Or if it's, like a more independent situation, a student studying abroad at a university, they may be assigned a roommate by the university. So it really does vary based on the program.
I will say we also take in student preferences. So if a student has someone that they already know in the program or has met a new friend during these meetings, they're welcome to put them down as a preference. Sometimes this can be through our office. Other times the faculty will also help arrange this with the students because they may even know the students a little bit more if they're past students of theirs. We also only room males with males and females with females. We do not mix gender. So each housing option will only have one gender in their situation.
What is the turnaround time for approval of application? Did we cover this, I think, already? I'm sorry. Okay, the next one.
For specific program scholarships or stipends, referring more to our Germany programs, there is extra scholarship potential there. For this, you can reach out to the program coordinator of that program. For Discover the Heart, it will be Patrick Steimer, but you can find his contact information on our website or email the general email, and we can connect you with details of those opportunities.
The parent portal, that's actually through KSU's family and parent and family programs. So if you are a member of that, or if you wanted to get more information about that, I would recommend checking out the KSU Parent and Family Programs website. And they have a portal where they will be posting a copy of this recording, as well as they post lots of really other interesting things that they find that are happening around campus. So it's a pretty neat site to check out.
Going a little bit more into accommodations, room and board, and pricing. For faculty-led programs, all accommodations for the program dates will be included in that cost. So lodging will be included, some meals, that insurance that Erin was talking about. If they are going on an independent program, this can vary on how it is scheduled or booked and priced. A lot of the time they will be staying in university housing if they're on an exchange at that university of their choosing. And so there they could be paying directly to that university for their dorm room, or maybe an apartment style of living. It kind of depends per program. And usually for exchanges or independent, they don't have a set program cost. They usually pay everything individually versus lodging and tuition.
And we have a couple of questions about airfare. So usually we for our faculty-led especially, I know Ghana is mentioned in there, and that technically kind of falls under a faculty-led program. So we will have our faculty choose their flights and then make that information available to the programs, to the students on the program. And then they will be able to purchase that same flight. You know, we to the extent possible would like our students to be all together as a group. Sometimes that's not always going to be, you know, able to happen. Some students may be coming from different locations. You know, they may be traveling before or after a program. But we will be getting that information out to students as we get closer to the time where we start making any of the financial commitments. And that's usually the best time for students to go ahead and purchase their flight. So they should be getting some sort of communications from their you know, faculty or from their program coordinator saying, these are the identified flights, you know, feel free to go ahead and try and get that same flight if you can. For students who are on a more independent, you know, program experience, really anytime before they go, but preferably if they can give themselves as much lead time, they're probably going to get better prices. Okay. So,
Oh,
go ahead.
okay, I was going to say there is a question about priority of applications, whether seniors get first priority if they submit their applications. Priority for programs is given based on the deposit date and time. So it is first come, first serve for programs based on the deposit. So once they have made their deposit, a spot will be held for them, and assuming there is spots available, will be held for them in that program until they can complete the rest of their application. We do like a rather complete application, but definitely the elements that are listed on the program page as the requirements to be completed for programs. Most programs will require that $300 deposit, 2.5 GPA for faculty-led, 2.75 for exchange. A course selection and a needs assessment. The needs assessment is asking basically allergies, medications that your student has, any way we can help support the student, any accommodations they might need. And this will help us know how we can support them when they're leading up to their program and then while they are also abroad. For exchanges, there might be a couple more elements to their application there, as well as something called a course approval form, which will have them, which is usually given after the application. We like them to start on this, and this is how they will understand what classes they'll be taking abroad on their program for an independent program or an exchange. And exchanges.
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say exchanges also do not have a deposit, but they have an application fee, which is a lesser amount.
And we did have a question about safety and security incidents on programs. So we do try to handle them as sensitively as possible. We have our resources in place and you know, our students have access to the CISI insurance that does kick in to cover things that may happen to students while they are traveling abroad. Again, usually, vast majority of the time, very minor things. We see a lot of twisted ankles on the cobblestones. That's probably my number one I hear about. But you know, ranging the gamut of, you know, students having more serious medical complications while they're traveling abroad, or you know, significant security incidents that have happened even recently that I think many of you are aware of in the news. So we do work very closely with our partners who are at the other institutions, with our faculty, with our KSU campus partners, with CISI, with even, you know, the embassy if needed. There are a host of people who are working to support your student should anything happen overseas, you know, to make sure that they are covered. Again, medical coverage, they have a very, very robust amount of coverage for things that could transpire. The CISI insurance does also include what we call a bedside benefit, which means in the event that something happens where, let's say, your student does need to be hospitalized for something for a couple of days, we can get you over there so that you are able to be there in country with your student for that. So again, these resources are there in place. We are here to be, as much as we can, a support network and hopefully safety net for your student should they need us. Hopefully, again, most of the time they don't. But, you know, it can run from, like I said, the things like the sprained ankles. We do get a lot of those. And so even for that, they are covered. When is payment due for Maymester?
So for Maymester programs in early summer for faculty-led, the program installment payment dates are on each program page. They should also be in your students' acceptance email. They will be getting reminders too if they are already accepted into the program. But for early summer, the first payment date is March 1st. The second payment date is March 15th. And after they pay the deposit too, the price is, and their installments, their payments is less $300. So they don't have to, it's not, the deposit goes toward that total cost. Late summer programs for faculty led, it is going to be an April 1st deadline for payments and then an April 15th for the second payment. I see a student has accommodation for housing. Will this be honored during travel? I will say if your student has let us know about the accommodation, then yes. If we don't know about it, then we can't accommodate for it. So if your student has a specific accommodation needed, please have them reach out to their specified program coordinator, also international safety and security, and we can help coordinate and get the best possible solution for your student dependent on what their accommodation is.
Yes, we actually do have a form in their application that allows them to specify if there are any accommodations that they need or would like. So we encourage disclosure because the sooner we know, the sooner we can work with them to help them make that arrangement.
I see, did you discuss chaperones? How many chaperones usually go? So it will depend a little bit on the number of students. For our faculty-led program, we do keep a 15 student to 1 professor ratio. Most of our faculty that go by themselves will have around 12 to 15 students, sometimes a little bit less. Usually our faculty travel in 2 or more groups. So professors usually have at least 2 on a program. So we always keep that ratio of 15 to 1 whenever they're on a program or traveling, so we can make sure that each student is getting the necessary support that they need while they're abroad. If they're on an independent program, so maybe an internship or an exchange, KSU faculty usually do not, or a chaperone usually does not go with those students. They go by themselves independently. And then for these programs too, if they're at a different university, there's always going to be a counterpart to say my position at that university. So there are people over there, program coordinators, advisors that are for those incoming students to have any needed support that they might need at their host institution.
Program details, it says faculty led, but all meals except one is up to the student to arrange. Is that normal? Again, it varies based on the program. Some programs are very all-inclusive. Some do allow a little bit more independence and autonomy for students, and including in meals if they leave, a couple of meals open for students to be able to go out and choose their favorite restaurants and things. It's gonna vary based on the program, but typically our faculty-led programs tend to be a bit more all-inclusive with that program pricing. Are there still spots left for Maymester? I think that's going to vary based on the program. Some are more popular than others, but applications are still open for most programs until I believe February 1st. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lexi, on our Maymester programs. If a student applies and pays the deposit, but the trip is full, do you get your deposit back? Yes. We will have a little wait list, but if a student does pay a deposit and is unable to go because the program is full, they would be refunded that deposit. I think those are all the questions I'm seeing in the chat box. And I'm not sure, Lexi, I think she might have had a couple of technical difficulties there for a minute. All right, well, with that said, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us, educationabroad@kennesaw.edu, or you can reach my office at globalsafety@kennesaw.edu. And we are so excited that you were able to join us, and we look forward to talking with your student and sending them abroad.